If you're just starting out and are trying really hard to build your own coaching or consulting business, it can probably feel really overwhelming because there are so many things that you have to do. On top of that, you probably also have a family, a life, and maybe even a job too. So, how do you do it all? How do you make it happen? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi there. If you are just finding me for the first time, my name is Louisa Joe, and I help ambitious men and women build their own online coaching and course-based businesses to transition from employee to entrepreneur and leave their 9 to 5s forever. So one of the top problems that people come to me with, as you can imagine, is how do I manage my time so that I can do everything I need to do in my business while still juggling my life, my family, and my job and everything in between. And what I have for you might be a little bit counterintuitive, but I promise it's a lot more doable and it's a lot more effective if your goal is ultimately to build your business and get more clients. Here's what it comes down to. There is a lot of advice out there that tells you to set up your website, maybe to do a lot of blogging, maybe to do some guest posting or set up some fancy complicated funnel or email series. What I have to say to you is that there is absolutely a time and a place for all of these things, but that time and that place is not at the beginning of your business, because at the beginning of your business, it comes down to one thing. When you get your first paying clients, when you have money coming in through your business, that's when you know you've got a real business. Before that, no matter how nice your website looks, how fancy your funnels are, how great your social media profiles look, none of that matters. And so what I usually recommend that my students do, and I highly recommend that you do as well, and this really is super helpful for beating overwhelm too, is to really sit down and focus only on client-facing activities. Now, we're going to go into examples of what those are and how you can use them for yourself, but first I want to address a potential question that might be coming up, which is, well, what if I don't have a gorgeous website? Because I will tell you that's a question I get a lot. A lot of people, a lot of my students, when they first come to me, think they need a beautiful website to be able to successfully sell their offers. And again, as I mentioned earlier, there is absolutely a time and a place for that. But think about it. When someone is first coming to find you, they are not going to magically find your website, especially if your website is new and you're not getting a lot of organic traffic to it. They are not going to magically find your website and think, oh my gosh, this person is amazing. Their website is gorgeous. Let me go ahead and buy from them right now. That very rarely happens, especially if you're new in your business, you don't have a ton of social proof, maybe your copywriting and your marketing and your sales skills are not the best they could be yet because you're just getting started. And so what's going to help you actually get those clients when you're first starting out? It's the relationships that you're building with your potential clients. So then the question becomes, okay, well, how do I build this relationship? And what that comes down to is you connecting with your potential clients like real people. And so that means focusing all of your attention on client-facing activities. And to be able to do that, that means you don't have to really focus on anything else. All of that blogging, all of that guest posting, there's absolutely a time and place for it. And if you have time to do that, great. But I want you to be thinking about it this way. When you're building a business, you've got both the short-term strategies and the long-term strategies. Short-term strategies are strategies that need to pay off relatively quickly to bring in clients, to bring in revenue, to keep your business afloat. And the longer-term strategies are strategies that you know are going to take longer to pay off. So for example, blogging, that might take years before you're gaining enough traction and momentum to generate a lot of organic traffic. Or maybe guest posting or podcasting. It might take you some time to work your way through the ladder of podcasts and get to a really established podcast and be featured on that. So that's absolutely something you should be working towards, but you should be very aware that if that's what you're doing, that's something that's going to take longer so that you're not relying on that to get you a client tomorrow. So in the beginning, if you only have a short amount of time, like when I was starting my first online business and was in my 9 to 5, which was really demanding, I didn't have time to do a ton of things. And so I only focused on short-term client-facing activities in the beginning so that I could bring on my clients. All right, so we've talked about the importance of what they mean to your business. Let's talk about what these activities actually look like. And the hint is in the term, which I made up. So you might not be able to find it if you Google it. But it's really simple. It's the idea that you need to get in front of your clients and connect directly with them. No fancy email funnels, no fancy website, none of that. You and your client. And so what that comes down to is thinking through, okay, where can I connect with my ideal clients online? It doesn't necessarily have to be online. It can definitely be at meetups or somewhere local. But for most of us, when we're starting out, maybe we don't have access to the local networks, or it's just easier to get started online. And so what that comes down to is figuring out, okay, where are my ideal clients hanging out that I can connect to them? And so that might be online Facebook groups, for example. There are Facebook groups for anything. And so a great way to get started connecting with people is to find a few Facebook groups where your ideal clients are. And you can do that simply by using the Facebook search tool, which will bring up so many group results for you, or finding some of your ideal clients on Facebook and then looking at their profiles and seeing what groups they're a part of so that you can discover more groups where your ideal clients are hanging out. Once you do that, what you want to do is you want to go into that group, and this is key. You're not going to just promote yourself and say, hey, I can help you with this. Do you want to buy from me? Instead, you're actually going to focus on building relationships. So you're going to go in there, you're going to share value every day, just completely agenda free, just to show up, give value, show that you are here to actually help others instead of just promoting yourself and then leaving. Have conversations with others. If there are people asking questions that you can answer, great, answer them, help them out. That can often lead into conversations offline where you develop a relationship with someone who might eventually end up becoming a client of yours. And that can also look like you just answering comments that people are sharing on your posts and just, again, engaging in those conversations. Actually, this is exactly how I got my first ever paying client. At the time, I was doing digital advertising because that's what I was doing in my job. And I saw someone, this was about 5 years ago. So this was when Facebook ads were super new. And I saw someone in a Facebook group asking about advertising. And at the time, I didn't even know what I could offer, but I said to her, hey, I messaged her and said, hey, I saw these questions that you were asking. I am not trying to sell you anything. This is simply what I do at my job. I would be happy to hop on a call and answer them for you if in return you'd be willing to give me a few minutes of your time to answer some market research questions, because I'm trying to figure out if there's even a viable business here and I'd love your feedback. She said yes, of course, because it was an awesome win-win solution for both of us. And I really wasn't trying to sell her anything. I truly was just trying to understand the market a little bit better. And then after that, we actually continued having that conversation, just like I mentioned earlier, and built up that relationship. So she asked me some follow-up questions over about the next 2 weeks, and I just gave a ton of value because I wanted to just get out there first and lead with value before I just thought about, all right, how do I get some clients? It actually worked out really well because I gave her so much value that she actually emailed me after about 2 weeks and asked me, hey, I have gotten so much value from you for free and I really appreciate it. And I know I would get so much more if I hired you. So can we talk about how I can hire you? And I actually, at that time, I had to say to her, okay, wait, calm down, or not calm down, but hold up for a sec. Let's schedule a call a week from today, because I had no idea what I could sell or what my pricing should be. So I had to go and Google frantically to figure out what felt like a fair price. And then I hopped on the call with her. I had no idea how to have a sales conversation, but because we had established that relationship already and she knew me, she knew the value I could bring, it was a no-brainer for her. It was just like a conversation. I didn't need amazing sales skills. I wasn't pushy. I told her the price, even though I was sweating and so nervous. And then she said, yes, I'm in. So that's the power of focusing only on client-facing activities. I didn't have a website at the time. I didn't have a fancy funnel, none of that. So that's one example of a client-facing activity. Another example of a client-facing activity is to directly reach out to potential clients who you might be able to help. Now, I want to caveat that there is a very clear right and wrong way to do this. At this point in my business, I do get a lot of emails from people who want me to hire them, and they're very cold outreach emails. And I will tell you, I ignore most of them because they just don't connect with me, and I'll tell you why. However, in the past, I have hired someone who wrote me a really great outreach email, and I've helped my clients write really great outreach emails too. So I'm going to walk you through the basics. Now, what this comes down to is, again, forming a relationship with someone. If you can first start by commenting on something they wrote, and of course, this all has to come from a genuine place of really wanting to be a part of that person's community and be connected with them, not just get them to hire you. And so this can start by building a simple relationship where you're reading their content, you're commenting on some of their content, you're just engaging with them, or sending them a message on LinkedIn, or sending them an email, whatever that looks like. And the key is, once you move into that step, you've got to be really targeted with what you can help with, what your credentials are, and how you would help. So you don't want to say, hey, I noticed that you create some awesome content, and or whatever is relevant for your industry. I'm just sharing examples of ineffective emails that I get. But you don't want to be saying, hey, I just noticed you need help with this. You should hire me. I could help you, and let's hop on a call. That is super vague. That gives me no idea why you are legit and why I should hire you, and it doesn't give me an idea of how you're going to help me. So it feels very vague, and you don't want to write an email like that, or a message at LinkedIn, wherever. What you do want to do is actually share a genuine point to show that you have actually focused on whatever their issue is. Whether you've seen, like that example I gave with my first ever client, where I saw she was asking questions about digital advertising. That was coming from a genuine place. It can be as simple as that. Hey, I saw you ask this question about this. I'd love to help you. Or if your audience is small business owners, then you can basically reach out to them and say, hey, for example, I'll tell you, someone I've hired through this type of outreach said to me, hey, I noticed that you're going through a launch right now. So they were paying attention to what I was doing. Now, what's more is they then immediately went into why they were credible. So they said, hey, I've worked with so-and-so people I knew and were well respected in my industry to help them create epic launches. And so I've got really great experience to share with you. So right away, I knew how this person was legit. Be very specific. So back to the example of how I got my first client. I said to her in my message, hey, this is exactly what I do in my job. I'm a manager at my job. I manage millions. My team manages millions of dollars in digital advertising revenue for my company's clients. And I know what I'm doing, right? So something specific related to your credentials. It can be just one sentence or two. And then it goes into very specific. When you're doing outreach, for example, you want to be very specific about how you can help someone. So in the example email of that person I hired, she said, hey, I noticed these specific things, and she pointed out two very specific things that I was doing during my launch that she saw room for improvement for. And they were very specific, they were very on point, but she didn't in a respectful way. And then she said, hey, if you want to hop on a call to talk about how I can support you further, then I'd love to do that. That was it. Super, super simple. And again, tying back to that outreach message that I sent to get my future first paying client, I was very straightforward. Hey, I saw you ask some questions. I'd love to answer them for you. And in return, all I ask is that you answer some market research questions. So those are the three elements of a good outreach email or message that if you want to do that kind of client-facing activity, I absolutely recommend, or you want to make sure you have those elements included. So that's a second type of outreach activity, or client-facing activity, excuse me. The third type of client-facing activity is where you are going into, for example, a platform where you are connected with your ideal clients and you're creating content specifically for them. And so we've talked about doing that in Facebook groups, but there are lots of other platforms to do that. And sometimes people, new coaches especially, get really focused on Facebook groups, which is why I'm putting this as a separate category. So that can look like, again, this depends on where your clients are, what your industry is. So you really have to know your audience. No one can know that for you. But I've had clients, for example, one of my students was a naturopathic doctor, and she realized that her audience was on Instagram. So she started posting Instagram posts about the way she was helping her clients, about the remedies that she created, and then she invited people to DM her if they wanted to chat more. And so doing that, she actually got her first client on Instagram pretty darn quickly because they really saw what she was doing, really connected with it, and they wanted her help. So that's one way, that's one platform. Another way is through any sort of joint venture. Now, this is different from a guest post in that you are being very clear about connecting with someone's live, active community. You're giving some really great content to them, and then you're directly inviting them to hop on a call with you because you've already given them so much free value. You don't need to give them another lead magnet or opt-in or invite them to your email list. Directly invite them to connect with you. And this can be as simple as reaching out to people who lead communities. So people who lead their own Facebook groups, who have their own email lists, who drive their own communities. And in doing so, basically offer to help them create amazing content for their audience, bringing in your area of expertise. And what I want to make really clear is maybe you feel like you're not yet qualified to do this because that person has an audience and you don't. However, that's not something you need to worry about if you've got the expertise to bring to the table, because if you are finding someone who has an audience that is a good fit for you, who offers a service that is complementary to yours, then what that means is they're going to really want to have that free content for their audience. They might not necessarily be looking to grow their audience through you, but they're always wanting to create valuable content for their audience. And so if you can do that, really present it in a way that shows what you bring to the table is really unique and it's going to be really valuable for their people, that's all you have to do. So, I mean, it's not all you have to do. It's a lot, but it's a lot more effective than working on your website or trying to work on your logo. And so, again, giving you another specific example, one of my past students was a journalist. And so she wanted to take her skills and teach people how to communicate better. And so what she did was she found the admin of a Facebook group for small business owners, and she reached out to them and said, hey, this is my background, right? These are my credentials, and now I'm taking my job experience to help small business owners communicate better. And I'd love to share with your audience how to do that, some of my best tips for free. And of course, that was a really great offer to that admin of that group. And so she said, yes, let's hop on a live stream. And so she did that. My student gave incredible value. And because she did that afterwards, and because she did the training as a joint training with the owner of the group, someone reached out to her and said, hey, I loved what you had to share. The group owner loved your training, and I personally know her, and I'd love to hire you because you obviously know what you're talking about. And so through doing that, again, no fancy website, no funnel, anything, she got her first paying client within about, I think maybe just a few weeks of starting out, because she focused on the right activities. And so these are 3 very powerful examples of client-facing activities that you can be doing. If you only have 30 minutes a day, if you are just starting out in your business, these are the only types of activities that I recommend for you. Because if you do nothing else but these, you're going to get your first paying client so much faster than blogging or setting up a website or all of those things. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you confidence. It's going to give you a client for you to get testimonials from. It's going to give you a client so that you're making a sale and getting revenue into your bank account from your business. And what that's going to do is going to help you understand your audience so much better and build the confidence to continue building your business instead of spending all that time doing something that you're not even sure it's going to work to help you get the clients and the business that you want. And then once you have the clients, the social proof, the income, then you can switch into building all that long-term strategy stuff, the website, the funnels, all of that. So it really will create a powerful burst of momentum and income for you. So if you take nothing else from this video, mark your calendar, write down the kind of client-facing activities that you can be doing based on what I just shared, and make the decision to do this every day, at least during the weekday, for the next 2 to 3 weeks. If you do just that, I promise, mark your calendar 2 to 3 weeks from now, you're going to turn around and compare to where you are right now, and you are going to see a massive difference, and it's very possible you will have gotten that first or next paying client. All right, so that's it for today. Hopefully you found this super helpful, and if you have, then I've got another really great video for you to make sure you check it out. It's linked right here, so make sure you go ahead and click on it. And then aside from that, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe button to be notified every week when I release another new video just like this on helping you build your own coaching and course-based business. All right, that's it for today. I will see you next time.